Hey everybody, thanks for coming to check out today's video. I am making a Minion out of this old propane tank, and if you watch my channel a lot or a subscriber, you might think to yourself, Kyle, another propane tank project? Yeah, another propane tank project. Why? Because I have a ton of them, and this is kind of the perfect shape for making the Minion. The reason I'm making the Minion is I want to surprise my buddy's sons because they love Minions and they actually watch my channel. Hi guys, hope you like this one and hopefully this turns out really well and you're not disappointed in my efforts. But because they're real cool and they show a lot of support to me, I want to do something nice for them. So I'm going to make them a Minion out of this tank. So let me show you how I did it.
All right, everybody, I am back and I'm trying something completely different than what I've done in other videos. I'm not a huge fan of doing the voiceover, so I've decided that I'm going to do this entire thing in one go. Even if I make mistakes, doesn't matter, we're just going to send it and keep going and see if I find it to be a little more interesting to, well, at least myself. So, getting into this project, I am starting by cleaning up and prepping the propane bottle. I gotta get the top and bottom ring off, and it's kind of being a pain because I couldn't cut into the bottom welds very nice. So I used the die grinder and then just smashed it with a hammer. In frustration, I threw it off. Now that that's done, I am going to start getting all of the paint off of it, because obviously I don't want this thing to be orange the whole time, so gotta get all the paint off. I also don't like that the seam is on the side of the tank, and since this isn't going to be a pressure vessel, I'm just going to grind off that weld seam across the whole thing, make it a little more uniform and not have some weird line. After I cut it off, I got a few imperfections on the top, so I welded those, cleaned them, but nobody cares, so we're going to move on. I'm using a 3-inch piece of pipe for the eye piece of the goggle. I didn't have any thin enough flat stock, so I'm taking 1-inch flat stock, marked it out for half, cut it in half, cleaned it up, and that is what I'm going to use. Wait for it. Keep waiting. All right, I'm gonna roll it in my handy dandy little roller that my buddy Adam got me, and I'm gonna use that for the outside ring, as you can see on the actual goggle. So I threw a clamp on it, made sure it was pressed down tight. I'm gonna get it all tacked in, and it wasn't quite all the way around, so I just grabbed the leftover chunk, popped that in there, welded it in, cut it off. I'm gonna weld the whole thing on, blend it all down, make it all pretty and polished. And then I'm gonna move on to actually adding the little, like, I don't know, rivet marks that like the real Minion has. I don't want to do rivets, so I will be using some 1/4x20 nuts, and I'm not there yet. Hold on. Nope, keep waiting. Man, I should have edited this better. All right, there. Now we're on to putting on the 1/4x20 nuts, and I will go through and put, what was it, like 8 of them on, try and make them evenly spaced of each other, but all of this I just eyeball anyways, so if it's not perfect, well, it's not perfect, and we're just gonna keep going. Also, when there's a lot of dead air and you think, oh, I bet you actually stopped it and aren't actually saying anything. No, I'm still sitting here. I just edited out all the sounds of me breathing because I'm sure that would be fun. For the actual eyeball, I'm using a 3-inch half sphere, which doesn't actually measure out to 3 inches once I actually ordered it and it showed up. But I'm using that for the eyeball. There was a hole in the half sphere, so I just put a little chunk of scrap in it, tacked it, cleaned it up, threw on the big old, I don't know, 5/8 nut, something like that for the actual cornea. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. But I didn't want the eye to be flush with the end of the goggle, so I threw a 1/4-inch piece of whatever on the table and then set the goggle around the piece just so I could give it a little bit of gap and make it recessed into the goggle a little bit. Got it all welded in, and now I'm gonna let it cool off for a minute. Then I'm gonna bring the tank over and I'm gonna get this thing installed. All right, there's the tank. I'm gonna try and center this as best I can because everything is eyeballing. I got that tacked in. I'll get the whole thing welded. Right, yep. I'm gonna weld the whole thing. Then I'm going to move on to making the headband, I guess you would call it, for the goggle. I had a piece of 1-inch 1/4 by 1/4 flat stock. I believe that's what it is. But I had used it as a test piece in the hand roller when Adam got it for me. So it's just been sitting there, and luckily it was close enough to the actual size of the tank that I'm just gonna cut off the extra, grab a clamp, press it all down, get it welded in, and unfortunately, yep, it's still a little too long, so I'm gonna cut that extra little bit off, get it clamped on, weld it up. I'll go through, get it all cleaned and whatnot before I move on to the next step. And to be real honest, I had no idea how I was going to finish this Minion when I started. Wasn't sure if I was going to try to figure out how to make overalls for him, and I had no real idea. So we're going to put that on the back burner and move on to making the arms. I have two, I think they're 1-inch bolts, some 3/8 round stock, some random nuts that actually fit the bolts, but that doesn't matter too much. And because I don't want them to just be straight stick arms, I grabbed the torch and started to heat up the chunk of bolt that I am using for the arms. Unfortunately, midway through the first one, my tanks ran out, so this is actually a couple days later after I bought new tanks, and I'm gonna go through, finish getting them all bent up, because one thing I don't like about some of my projects, if I don't get enough bend into things, they don't look quote unquote alive, even though obviously it's metal, but like you give it that feel that it feels like, oh no, that thing might start moving. So I'm just making sure to go through and give everything a nice bend and polish, like once I cut all of it apart, polish it up, make it look good. So hopefully it kind of gives them a lifelike feel. Now that I have all of the extremity parts, I'm going to go through and start placing all of the fingers and the nut on the arm, try and get everything tacked together. I am going to over weld everything on the hand because later on I'm going to go through and grind it all smooth, so I want to give it extra buildup so I have enough material to grind away to end up with the desired shape of the hand that I am looking for. I'm actually pretty happy with how the hands came out after I cleaned them up. Oh, but there's the first one. I like them, but unfortunately I have one of the arms that's the opposite side that is going to be held up like it's waving. That one I have a little bit of issue with. I put all 3 fingers in line a little bit too much, and I kind of wish that I would have put one a little bit off to the side to give it, yeah, you can see right there. It just looks like 3 fingers holding up instead of the third one being more of a thumb, but whatever. It still looks good, and I am making this for children, so I actually delivered this thing to them already, and they loved it, so they didn't critique me on, Kyle, why doesn't that hand look right? Well, you know, I'm not perfect, and sometimes things don't go the way you want it. I finally figured out how I was going to finish this. Luckily, in the third Minion movie, I think. I don't know, I didn't watch it, but I Googled it. A bunch of them had hula skirts, and that's way easier to form and shape than overalls. So, kind of function, lazy, cop out, I don't know. And it's gonna look cool, don't worry about it. I'm gonna hang chain, see? Chain all over it, but first I gotta make the legs. And apparently struggle to get it to stand up. I'm using the same nuts as I used for the hands, except for the top ones are a little bit smaller to give it more of that taper aesthetic. Like it's an ankle, the actual leg parts are just more cut off of that bolt. I'm gonna put them all together and I'm going to severely overweld these because I want to go through later, get them all ground down to make them kind of look like little shoes. I think it kind of worked out. I also capped the front of the bolts, or the nuts, on the feet so I can cut off that bolt head off the, see? So I plug up the hole, get it all welded, get them all pretty, and then I'm gonna get them ready and actually set the body on these legs. I was pretty surprised that once I tacked on the legs, he actually stood up on his own pretty well, but I'm a little worried they might become too top heavy, so I will be adding some stuff later. But right now, I'm going to add a vinyl sticker that my buddy Kevin made for me because I want to put it on as a stencil, get a little paint on it. It'll go over to the burn table, but I gotta do the teeth as well. I grabbed some random scrap plate that I had sitting around. I'll get that painted. So when I pull off the vinyl, I'll have a stencil that I can follow with my plasma cutter, as I'm doing right here. But everything's real hot and I still have to go through and clean and polish everything up later, so we'll just wait for it. Boom. And there's the body. I'll get this piece of vinyl pulled off and we will be able to cut out the hole. Well, I did. I am going to cut out the hole for the mouth. I'm going to get everything cleaned up and ground so it's all nice and ready to go. And then we're going to... Oh, I missed this spot. All right. Now, everything's cleaned up. Oh, look it, it's so smooth. Oh, they're so pretty. I wanted to give like a 2-layer effect for the teeth, so I actually went through and drilled out 4 holes in that upper lip so I can go in and clamp the teeth on the inside, tack or spot, I don't know, spot weld, call it whatever you want, the teeth in, and after I get it all tacked up, I can then clean it all off and it'll look seamless. Never knew that, I tacked it on, but it should hold since it's just kind of a sculpture that'll stand there and not have any real stress put on the teeth. Well, hopefully it is for children and kids do weird things, but I guess that won't be my problem at that time, will it? But there's the mouth. It's actually one of the best parts about this project to me because I feel like I actually got it to look pretty much the way I want it. And of course, you gotta add some hair, so I rolled some 3/16 round stock, cut up a couple segments, got it on top, and look it, I'm all like gingerly hitting it. And now it looks different? Yeah, it's because I didn't like the way it looked. And I actually went through and hammered all the hairs down. And here is that extra support that I was mentioning to a minute ago. I just grabbed a random 1/4-inch piece of dropout that I think I got from my buddy on the burn table, whatever. But I wanted to give them a little wider base so Hopefully it's a little more resistant to rocking and falling over. For all the chain, I have a bunch of chain in a bucket. This one seemed to be the right length size, so I grabbed it, cleaned it all up, which took forever because I really wanted to try and get each link cleaned, but I gave up. It's not perfect, but I cut 3 chunks short, so after I put it all on, I actually had to go and cut and clean 3 more sets. But now we are all done. I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up and painted, and I will send you back for some sweet B-roll. Let me know what you think about this new way of me doing these videos. Did you hate it? Did you love it? Just let me know either way. Always like, comment, subscribe, share, all the stuff. You know what you're doing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.